James, good morning. And let's start before we get to the Broncos. If we need to know how important an elite quarterback is, I submit as Exhibit A the Baltimore Ravens. The difference with Lamar and without is stunning.
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, that's a generational player, right? That's a guy that doesn't come around very often, and an offense that is specifically designed to his skill set. There's some offenses that are plug and play, kind of like you look at San Francisco, where you can put Mac Jones in there, and he's a good, decision maker and kind of can be accurate. But the way things are, with the way that offense is with Lamar, it's specifically for him. And so you see one that's designed like that to absolutely thrive. It's why they wanted Snoop Hundley instead of Cooper Rush in that game after the bye, because it's more of a similar fashion to the way he plays. But there's a handful of guys that elevate, all the ships around them. And Lamar's one of those guys. I think you're seeing an adverse spot of that, Mike, honestly, in Minnesota right now. You have a Super Bowl caliber roster borderline, right? A conference title roster at least. And you look at where the quarterback is and how that depletes a really, really talented roster. So those are two great examples of how your season can go two different directions with what you have behind center, for sure.
Go ahead, Stoke. You're up.
How do I know I'm up?
Because I pointed to you.
No, you didn't. Because I asked you what's going on. You never even
said anything. There were a lot of hand
anything.
movements going on.
James saw the hand movements.
Yeah.
James saw the hand movements. I look like Peyton Manning at the line of scrimmage. Omaha. Go ahead, Stoke.
James, talk about this matchup against the Texans. You look at the Texans' defense, the Broncos' defense, the strength of the football team. Houston's offense is starting to play better. The Broncos' offense is starting to play better. What do you make of this matchup?
I pumped the brakes on both offenses a little bit, more specifically Houston, certainly. That pass rush couldn't get after anybody with San Francisco. I mean, I think they were calling people down from from the stands to come down there and see if they could get after C.J. Stroud. And so that offensive line has been a big issue in Houston for sure. This Denver Broncos front should be able to have their way with them and get after Stroud and make him feel as uncomfortable as we've seen him at times during this season. And so I expect that front from Denver to make a big impact on CJ, and it doesn't look like it did this past week against San Francisco. What I'm really focused on, Stoke, honestly, is great step from this offense against a Cowboys team. Saw for 4 quarters, saw Bo Nix comfortable, saw him in complete command, saw a lot of different guys getting the football and making plays. I think this game on Sunday, like several other teams in the league, is a determining factor for what Denver does before the 4 o'clock deadline on Tuesday. I think if they go against what many believe is the best defense in football and they come up dramatically short on Sunday offensively, I wouldn't be surprised if the thought process between Payton and Payton changes a little bit in terms of what they think about this offense. Whether it's a guard, there's several teams interested in guards right now. Denver could be one of them. Whether it's a skill guy, I just think this is a great test to see if you're really part of that elite group in the AFC, because this defense is far, far different than what you faced in Dallas on all 3 levels. So I think this is a really big game for this offense in determining what happens after that game on Sunday between then and the deadline on Tuesday.
What do you have any names? Are there any names out there, James, that you've heard of that the Broncos might be interested in regards to fortifying their offense?
Yeah, it's interesting. More honestly, it seems like Sean really likes this rotation of guys as this number 2, whether it's Marvin Mims or Pat Bryant or Troy Franklin coming on. And I host a show with Steve Smith, who recently he was like, I got to start watching Troy Franklin a little more, man. He's even starting to show me a little something. So he perked Steve's ears up a little bit in the way he's playing. But there are people around the league that I talk to that are interested one of these receivers that are going to be available, and there's going to be receivers, and that market's a little bit hot, whether it's Pittsburgh, whether it's Buffalo is in desperate need of a boundary receiver. I'm not sure if Keon Coleman likes Steve or I right now very much with what's going on with us, but it could be Rashid Shaheed's definitely going to most likely be on the move, somebody like that has speed. Like Jacoby Myers can do the intermediate dirty work in the middle of your field. I think Denver has the ability to look at some of these receivers and see if somebody can add some juice to this offense. If, it doesn't perform the way, they're in the right direction, perform the way they'd like it to against a really, really good defense in Houston.
James, can you help us out with trade value compensation? Because we were talking about Jalen Waddle yesterday, and maybe he is even more in play now after the Dolphins got knocked around yesterday. Stoke thinks that it might take a first-round pick to get Jalen Waddle. I don't think it would take nearly that much. What say you?
The receiver market's a little higher than you think. You have to remember last year, the Browns gave up Amari Cooper for a third to Buffalo, and it ended up obviously not working out. But, a third is a starter for sure on your roster. And Jalen Waddle, I mean, you look at the contract between what's owed to him the rest of this year and next year, it's very reasonable from the talent standpoint that he has and the way the wide receiver market has gone up. That obviously plays into the favor of Miami asking for more. I think they have very little to build around. Miami's going to sell. One of the pass rushers are going to be gone before the deadline for sure. Way to appropriately point there, Mike. I just think the Waddle price is a little high because they believe he could be a building block for whoever is running that offense next year, whether it's Mike McDaniel or whether it's somebody else. He has the ability to play in multiple offenses, which makes him a viable candidate in terms of the trade situation, but also a viable piece for a core that they're trying to figure out and rebuild around. But it would be high. I don't know about a 1, but I think it could be above the 3 for sure.
James, talk about the AFC West. Broncos are in first place right now. Chargers and Chiefs right behind them. How do you see this thing playing out the rest of the year?
I love the division now, honestly, and we see like Joe Alt is he the MVP of the league? He just transforms Justin Herbert into a completely different player when he's back on the field. I'm interested to see if the Chargers can maybe be a little bit aggressive here. They're going to get healthier in the backfield, and Vidal's done a good job of holding down the fort. But do they want to maybe get deeper there? There's backs available. Do they want to help their group up front and get a little deeper on the offensive line? They're one of the teams that's looking at that as well. I do think Kansas City's game, just like I mentioned with Denver, and there's several of these guys on Sunday that are going to determine how aggressive you are. Brett Veach is very aggressive. I think the defensive line is not up to what they want it to be. If James Cook goes and runs like crazy against them, like he did against the Panthers, there's a chance they could be a little more aggressive at the deadline to solidify that defensive side of the ball a little bit more, because the offense is, it is humming over there in Kansas City right now. And so I think those would be the things I would look at for both those teams to better themselves. But the competition in the division is far different than what we've seen. And in a couple of weeks, the Broncos are going to have their opportunity to go after Patrick Mahomes and company and see if they can be a little different. Pat's playing at another level right now, guys, honestly. And it's not just Travis Kelce on the second play. It's almost like the whole pass catching unit understands this second play aspect and how he monkeys with the offensive, the line of scrimmage. It's unbelievable the way he's playing. So we'll see what those two teams do, if they do any moves ahead of this deadline, as well as Denver.
Hey, do you have any information on Pat Surtain and how, we're talking about 3-4 weeks potentially they didn't put him on IR. Do you have any inside information on what they think of the injury and how quickly he may return?
Yeah, the non-IR is a big determining factor, but it can be finicky with these things more honestly. Like, you look at, they never put JJ McCarthy on IR, right, up there in Minnesota, and they thought this was going to return and it was going to be much quicker than it was, and it ended up lingering. I know a high ankle sprain is one of those things that's really, really hard to determine. With Pat, I do think there's a lot of optimism. They got initial optimism right out of the gate, and I do think they're feeling this is something, with the way their schedule falls, is a big part of why they managed it this way. I think there is hope in that building right now that it's going to be on the shorter side. Obviously, as it continues to move along, they'll get a better feel for it. But the initial indication was, I think we kind of escaped something here, and we might be on the shorter side.